there's a certain fan that we cater towards called Little Kevin, which is basically when he was a fan, and we kind of are very mindful of them. So we got to keep them on the edge of their seats, and we got to keep them on their toes. So I think it's been the key to keeping our story fresh for 20 years now.
Kevin, Sami, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Live from Detroit.
I take the whole city down with this.
Fasten your seatbelts. It is about to go down.
Wanna be down, wanna dash, wanna go fast, and just
Motor City, here we go.
I take the whole city down with this.
On August 5th, WWE SummerSlam comes to Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. And although we don't know exactly what your roles will be in that show just yet, I am curious how the two of you, having wrestled against each other and alongside each other for so many years, managed to keep things fresh even for yourselves.
A big part of that is we never take anything for granted. So whenever we find ourselves in the spots we find ourselves in, whether it's WrestleMania or being tag team champions together, or getting to be in the ring with some of the people that we looked up to growing up, or people that now look up to us as they're coming up, on their journey, it's always something that kind of amazes us. And I think that's a big part of keeping things special, because if it's special for us, I feel like the audience kind of feels that. So it keeps things fresh for everyone at the same time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's a very conscious effort. And we have a little expression, actually, when we do shows in different towns and they're kind of close. There's a certain fan that we cater towards called Little Kevin, which is basically when he was a fan, but there might be 100 or 200 little Kevins out there, and we kind of are very mindful of them. And they might have seen the act before. They might have seen what we do. So we got to keep them on the edge of their seats, and we got to keep them on their toes. So I think having that approach, while maybe a little much at sometimes and maybe a little much for some people, I think it's been the key to keeping our story fresh for 20 years now.
Kevin, you were a little Kevin and I was once a little David, and I imagined myself with my own little wrestling character with my entrance music and exactly how, the kind of thing that you do when you create a wrestler on one of the WWE games. Did you have a very original character, a first name that you had for your wrestling persona when you were a kid?
So I didn't really do like backyard wrestling or anything like that, or even video games. Like I didn't play video games, so I didn't create that stuff, But I would have action figures and play with action figures all the time. I did try to find one action figure that kind of looked like me, that I thought looked like me, and then I was just Kevin Steen, which is my real name, obviously. So I didn't have any extravagant, and it's really, if you look at my career now, it's kind of like my name's Kevin Owens. My son's name's Owen. It's still kind of, it's all tied to reality. To me, that's always what appealed to me, is the more true to life characters, the over the top characters I enjoyed, but I didn't gravitate towards those so much. So anything even in my imagination, I was pretty down to earth as a wrestling character.
You're such an Austin fan.
That's
that was
right.
kind of Austin's appeal.
Yes.
I found a WWE.com article that talked briefly about the first time you met, but couldn't find a real detailed account of your first match together ever. And curious what you remember about that.
Depends which one you call our first match, really. Because I think our first notable match, we did one thing. It's kind of complicated, but the first notable match was a three-way match with myself, Kevin, and Pierre-Carl Ouellet, who I believe is still wrestling in Ring of Honor. And that was a pretty notable match, actually. That one, like, you could find clips of that if you a quick Google search will turn up results. And the chemistry was pretty instantaneous. And that was a match that was really, held in a high regard for the Quebec scene at the time. And I think that's right there and then is where our names kind of got linked together from there on out.
We also, our first one-on-one match was in November of 2003.
A month later, right?
And, 2 months. September,
October.
So I ended up, I actually recently went back and had my dad look through all our tapes from back in the day, and he found a tape that had that match on it. Sent it to me. I bought a VCR off of Facebook Marketplace, and I ended up recording the match with my phone so that I could send it to our one of our hardcore fans, like a hardcore Sami and Kevin fan who lives in Japan.
She's writing a book about us.
He's actually writing a book about us. And anyway, I sent her that match because she was on the search. She called it the Holy Grail, the first match together, the first singles match together.
Well, there actually is a great irony about this match, our first singles match.
We thought it was our last.
At the time, we thought it would be the only time we'd ever get to do it. We thought it'd be the last match as well.
If you're watching this, I encourage you to go seek it out.
Okay. We mentioned SummerSlam a little bit, and every wrestling fan has those early memories of moments that just absolutely enthralled us as kids. And for me, one of those moments was Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam 94. And wondered if you each have kind of a moment like that for yourselves.
It's really funny you mentioned that one, because right around like 95 is when my dad rented the tape and I started watching wrestling. So I started going backwards into the shows, because I'd go to the video store and then rent whatever show. Oh, so like I started with WrestleMania 11. Well, what led to WrestleMania was Royal Rumble, and then this and then that. And when I got to SummerSlam 1994, and the cover is Undertaker and Undertaker, like, what? Yeah, it's really funny that you say that.
Actually, so when I was a pretty diehard little teenager there, SummerSlam 98 might still be up there for one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views. SummerSlam 98, The Garden, the Highway to Hell with Undertaker and Austin.
Like, I remember specifically from the Undertaker and Austin match. It's such a small thing. The leg drop to the table. But also I remember Steve kicking Undertaker up and Undertaker hitting Steve in the face with his head. Busting Steve's lip open. Yeah, it's very strange what we remember from these things. We were such hardcore diehard fans. There's the smallest things will stay with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
100%. I mean, I used to watch with my younger sister for many, many years. And to this day, we still say to each other, and that's why I kicked your leg out of your leg.
Oh, yeah, right.
That
was just a throwaway line in a backstage. We do millions of backstages, but everyone remembers that line. It's so funny.
He didn't mean to say it.
And if we're talking about moments, Sammy, I sincerely mean it when I say there was no wrestler on this planet, with respect to you, Kevin, who I cared more about or rooted more for than you over this past year. I mean, really just fantastic work and performances and storytelling. And there are many fans out there, and they're very vocal, who believe that the only way the Roman Reigns feud should have ended was with you dethroning Roman as champion. How do you feel about the way that story closed out?
It would have been kind of perfect, a storybook ending, if I had dethroned Roman. Sure, of course. But if you look at it more, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if you look at the totality of where it all kind of lies, I think you would just see that that's one great chapter, hopefully, in a story. For sure, I think unquestionably, whether it was the right or wrong decision or whatever it was, the way it ended, there's no question that had it gone my way, for example, that night in Montreal or at WrestleMania or something like that with Roman, unquestionably it would have been a moment that would have definitely been replayed many times. But I still think what we did was very, very special. And I think, as you can see by what's continuing to happen with the Usos and Roman, that story still has some special moments. So I don't know. I think this is one of those things you just need time to see where it all falls. I don't know if this is a valid comparison, but it's almost like when Brock beat The Undertaker and ended the streak. It was such a shocking moment that you kind of didn't even know what to make of it. And I remember I watched it live in the bowl with Juice Robinson, CJ Parker in NXT at the time. And he was so frazzled by it. He goes, I need 5 years to know whether this was the right call or not. I remember that line. You know how he talks too. But it's kind of true. Like you had to wait several years to see all the consequences and the ripple effect of that moment. It took 5 years to kind of see like, oh man, this all goes back to that, like maybe it was chapter one in this, for me personally, maybe in a huge story that, my quest to one day win the big one. Who knows?
And I've loved what you've done together and loved how, Kevin, how you came into this story at the end. But I also know professional wrestling, and I know this partnership between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn isn't going to last forever. Kevin, you're obviously going to turn on Sami at some point, right?
Why does everyone think that?
I don't know. There is one thing about our careers that we can't be denied. When we felt like it was time, we had no problems, stabbing each other in the back and getting to it. I guess me more than him a little bit, but he's had his share of, he's done a couple. So
I mean, I'm not perfect, but
honestly, we are
him than me.
We are probably like, if we think it's better for our careers to fight than to team, we have no problem doing it. But we'll be tied to one another forever. There's just no way around it. So we'll see what comes. We'll
Yeah,
take it as it comes.
I can't wait to see what comes. Thank you so much for taking so much time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Thanks.
Live from Detroit.
I take the whole city down with this.
Fasten your seatbelts. It is about to go down.
Wanna be down, wanna dash, wanna go fast. And just to be frank, it's not for the faint of heart.
The biggest event of the summer.
Where do we start?
Just got even bigger.
Motor City